Welcome back to the podcast and to the latest edition of Academy Watch, straight off the back of a huge night in Europe, particularly for a lot of the youngsters that played a huge part, and even more particularly Reggie Walsh. What a night, what a time to make your senior debut. He becomes the youngest English player ever to start in a European game at just 16 years and 200 days old, and he ran the show. He had an absolutely sublime debut. He's not the only one. There were a fair few other solid performances, particularly Josh Acheampong impressed myself, but we're going to talk today about the impact of the youth on this Chelsea squad, what these players could mean for the rest of the season, what they could do in this Chelsea squad next year. Could they alleviate some of the pressures from FFP, from having to sign external players? Chelsea have a huge group of talented players on the books at the moment, whether they are academy, whether they're on loan, whether they are contracted to the club for the next 10 years. Chelsea have over 60 players with professional contracts. I have no doubt Reggie Walsh is going to come through. There is no doubt in my mind that Reggie Walsh is going to be one of the players who undoubtedly has a huge career. Whether it's at Chelsea, I'd love it to be at Chelsea, or elsewhere. There is no doubt in my mind that this guy will succeed. The way he carried himself both on and off the ball, I think he is fantastic. I think the fact that he played 90 minutes speaks for itself at 16 years old in a European semi-final. I don't want to take anything away from Djurgarden. Fans were quality. They gave their all over two legs. I would be expecting a player of Reggie Walsh's age, stature, physical ability to struggle on a big pitch like Stamford Bridge against a big Norwegian senior team. But the kid ran the show. He looked absolutely fantastic. Enzo Moresco, immediately after the game, praising him for his movement off the ball, his quality on the ball, always wanting to show for it. He said that Reggie Walsh is the perfect type of player for his system. And I think that is something that is incredibly important. A lot of these players that we've signed, that come up through the academy, that go out on loan and then maybe come back and there's a different manager in charge. A lot of players, particularly in Enzo Moresco's system this season, haven't necessarily worked, but that's not to say that they are not good quality players, that they couldn't do it elsewhere. It is just that Enzo Moresco has obviously a very specific tactical system, and it seems that there are certain players who maybe we don't see from the outside why they fit in or how they fit in, but to Enzo Moresco, he knows exactly what he's looking for in his system, and Reggie Walsh is undoubtedly one of those players, and Enzo Moresco was not the only one who was singing his praises immediately after the game. Reece James, TNT had to apologise because Reece James was so blown away by the kid, he swore on live TV. Joe Cole, Chelsea legend, England legend, singing his waxing lyrical, as they said on TNT, about Reggie Walsh. There was not a bad word said about him from the fans coming out of the game last night, from the media, from social media. The support around this kid has been incredible and undoubtedly well-deserved, fully deserved. The academy finished their season last week. Obviously, the fact that he's not going to be having to play the under-18, the development squad games, frees him up a little bit, gives him a little bit more kind of chance to maybe get a few cameo appearances off the bench in the Premier League. That being said, Enzo Moresco did come out after the game and say that for the next 4 games, we are going to be playing our strongest side every single game. I would like to see the youth get a chance in the final. I think Tyreek George and Josh Acheampong will be nailed on. I think Josh Acheampong in particular, for me, yesterday cemented his place in this Europa League Conference League team. I think Tyreek George was less effective than he has been in the last couple of games, but again, still, all he needs is experience. All he needs is more minutes. All he needs is more opportunities to get up to speed. You can train all you want. You can do all the drills throughout the week that you want. Nothing replicates a match. There is no simulation that can effectively encapsulate, the atmosphere, the pace, the tempo. It is a very unique thing. If you want to play in the big leagues, you have to gain experience in the big leagues. You can do it working your way up on loan in the academy, getting minutes here, there and elsewhere. But at some point, you're going to have to play with the big boys. And it's got to the point where I think Tyreek George and Josh Acheampong can both very much hold themselves, can very much carry themselves when it comes to, going up against, in Tyreek George's case, Jadon Sancho last night. I think Tyreek George offered, had a very similar level of performance. You wouldn't look at that Jadon Sancho performance and that Tyreek George performance and go, well, one of them is very clearly an academy player and one of them is very clearly a winger that went for 80 million a couple of years ago. I think the gap is closer than a lot of people think. And, you know, like I said, it will come with time. He is not, you know, George at times was playing as a number 9 again. He is not a striker. That is not his role. But the fact that there are these 2-3 players that are embedded in this team now gives players like Shim Mhueka, Genesis Antwi, Reggie Walsh, who we saw all 3 of those, you know, play last night. It gives those guys more of an opportunity because not only are they more familiar with their surroundings when they come into the team, they've obviously already got 2-3 teammates that they know that they can pass to, that understand. It's so important to be on the same wavelength as other players. And, you know, for academy players, I can imagine it could be quite a jump. But when you are, you know, take Reggie Walsh, for example, being put in that first team with school today, I'm curious to see how he was in registration this morning. He's pretty eyes bloodshot, pretty registration, everyone in his form asking for a signature. It must be surreal for him, but for him to be able to walk into a situation whereby he's not alone, he's not the only one, you know, he's not necessarily being thrown in the deep end because he has got a couple of people already in the water there saying, yeah, it's not that bad, mate. It's, you know, it took us 3-4 games to get going, but Reggie Walsh, first start, didn't need 4 or 5 matches. He looked like he was more than capable. And I know I'm a big advocate and I do kind of push the point of I don't feel players are physically developed until they hit, you know, their mid-20s. I feel like you've got to give these kids a chance to grow. And there are so many young players we see come through that I feel will have a shorter career due to the intensity they play at such a young age when you are still growing, still learning. Both as a footballer and as a man. And I do feel like you have to treat these cases with, you know, you've got to take them with a pinch of salt. You've got to be careful because at the end of the day, Reggie Walsh is an incredibly small individual and one big challenge from a Virgil van Dijk snaps him in half and he's out for the next 8 months. So it's not one of those where I'm seeing, you know, where I'm sitting here thinking, right, Newcastle on Sunday, get Reggie Walsh, you know, he's the impetus that we need. I would love to see them get a couple of minutes. But obviously, at the end of the day, the priority is Champions League spots. And if it comes to, if Moresco starts rotating now, the fan base would throw their toys out the pram like you've never seen before. It would be, I feel like it would be cutting your nose off to spite your face. Fantastic to push the youth and give them the opportunities. But I think the thing that Enzo Moresco's done incredibly well this season is choosing when to give them those opportunities. You know, we saw last night, not only Reggie Walsh, Tyreek George making, well, he's had a number of starts now, both in the, mainly in the Conference League, in the Premier League. He's had a couple of nice cameo appearances as well. Obviously, the goal against Fulham, absolutely massive, you know, boosts his career tenfold. Josh Acheampong had a few starts. Genesis Antwi, you know, 2 sub-appearances off the bench. Shim Mhueka, I think, has had 5 appearances. He's only got 1 minute in the Prem, but 4 appearances off the bench in the Conference League. These players are starting to get bedded in. And we are going to be able to go into next season with 5 or 6 academy players that have already got a taste of first team football, that already know what to expect, and that may spend a lot of the summer bulking, may spend a lot of the summer beefing themselves up, putting on a bit more muscle, because the fact of the matter is, if you want to play in the top leagues, you have to be physical. And as fantastic as Shim Mhueka is, I don't want to take anything away from him. I think he's a fantastic individual, brilliant finishing ability. You could kind of see yesterday that there is a big gap in terms of the expectation from a number 9 at youth level and then the expectation from a number 9 at senior level. Being able to hold the ball up with a big 35-year-old Norwegian up your back is a lot different from being able to roll another 16, 17-year-old. So I feel like that was the clearest indicator for me, that while these players are developing, there is still very obviously, you know, a lot of work to do, a lot of way to go. But I don't want to take anything away from any of the individuals, any of the youth players. I think it's fantastic. And, you know, singing Reggie's praises, Donnell McNeely, another fantastic player. He's up for Premier League Premier League 2 Player of the Season. Frankie Runham had an unbelievable end to the season. Idrissi had an unbelievable season this year. Ibrahim Rabaj won the under-15s African Cup of Nations, World Cup, something with Morocco. They were world champions or champions of Africa, I can't remember. But we've got these Chelsea players, these youth players, picking up accolades all over the world. And I have no doubt that they have more than enough ability. We saw from the reports a couple of months ago when Chelsea were in the pits of misery, and apparently there was a closed door game, seniors versus the youth team. The youth team won 3-0. Everyone went, absolutely skits when they saw that headline. I wasn't concerned about the first team at all, because when you looked at it, it was obviously the players that weren't on international break. I was looking at that as a testament to our youth team. And you think of Chelsea's academy, and while it has, I don't want to say dropped off in the last couple of years, because you look at top flight football across the world and there are probably more Cobham Academy graduates in top teams than there are any other. But you do look at the consistency of being able to produce these players, and I do feel like we are in a golden era. I feel like we are hearkening back to, John Terry-esque, when we were just pulling players out of the youth teams. I do feel like a lot of these Chelsea youngsters have a big, big chance to make an impression. It just depends on what Enzo Moresco decides and Bowley and co decide to do with the players that are currently out on loan. You've got players like Alfie Gilchrist, who I thought last season was ready. I thought, get him that loan move in the Championship. He has a fantastic, productive loan move, and he's ready to come in and play second fiddle to whoever's playing at right back or left back for Chelsea. Now you've got Josh Acheampong playing that role. So do we give Josh Acheampong more minutes next season and send Gilchrist out again? Or do we bring Gilchrist back into the fold, send Josh Acheampong? The danger of this rotation is, you never really get settled. You never really... I suppose the players might get disillusioned as well. If there is a lot of chopping and changing, no clear plan for them, even if you say there is a future for you, you're looking at the business Chelsea are doing and thinking, how much can I believe? How much stock can I put in this club? How much? And I suppose I'm speaking about this from the outside perspective as a professional, because thinking about it, if you're doing your job, you give it 100% no matter who you work for, where you work for, whatever. But I do feel like a lot of these Chelsea players will be looking to the likes of Reggie Walsh last night, and it will give them so much fire, so much more motivation, fuel to go on and do better. Because if you're starting a European game at 16 years old, 16 and a half even, it's crazy. And look, testament to Enzo Moresco, I'm pretty sure, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, I'm pretty sure Chelsea have given more debuts, more minutes to academy graduates this season, or to youth players this season, than anyone in Europe's top 5 leagues. It might just be England, I might be misquoting that slightly, but Enzo Moresco has certainly given more debuts, more minutes to the youngsters this season than any other top flight or top 6 manager, for sure. And I know that we've had the luxury of, I'm going to call it this once, a Mickey Mouse Cup. I know that we've had the luxury of a not so important cup. It's still a major trophy. Just for any Arsenal fans watching, any Tottenham fans watching, it's still a major trophy. It counts. Don't watch that. Also, while we're here, let's all laugh at Arsenal, eh? L's in the chat if you're an Arsenal fan. If you're a Chelsea fan, drop a blue heart. But Enzo Moresco's plan has been clear from the get-go. He wants players that fit into his system. While he is tactically adept, he's able to do those little tweaks. He's able to switch his system. The amount of times we've seen Caicedo at right back. Yesterday it started off, it looked like it was Cucurella and Reece James in centre mid with Josh Acheampong at left back, Josh Acheampong at right back and Malo Gusto at left back. It seems like a lot of these players can fulfill 3-4 roles. That's definitely what he looks for, a utilitarian player, as my co-host Charms likes to say. And Reggie Walsh is 100% that. I don't know if I even know his best position. I think I'd say attacking midfield, but could he be a box-to-box? Could he be a more creative player? I would argue he's on the creative side, but at 16 years old, you never know. He might change. He might decide to... I genuinely don't know. That the world is his oyster at this point. I'm trying to nail him down to a certain position. I've seen him pull out some exquisite finishes, some lovely cheeky little chips and exquisite shots and goals this season for Chelsea youth team. And the way he is on the ball, I could see him as a ball carrier. I could see him as a 6, as an 8. I mean, his passing's fantastic. I could see him as a more deep line playmaker or a deep line defensive midfielder. he's also got a hell of a shot on him. I could see him as a 10. I could see him as a second striker. There is, like I said, the sky is the limit for this guy. And I think the more support that we give these young players, the better it will be for the club in general. You know, you create more of a community spirit. You support the lads through no matter what. You know, through thick and thin, win, lose or draw. We've got, you know, we could finish this season with no Champions League football, no Conference League trophy. And yes, it would be a disappointment. Yes, we would call it a failure. But that wouldn't be to say that there have not been highlights. There have not been silver linings to this season. And the youth is 1000% one of them. And Reggie Walsh, props to you. Props to you. Keep doing what you're doing. I highly doubt he's listening to this. But, yeah, don't let anybody tell you to slow down, man. This guy is, like I said, undoubtedly destined for a huge, huge career. Another pro of Enzo Moresco, obviously using so many of the youth players and being so keen to integrate the development squad into the senior team, not only creates more of a sustainable team, it can help with the financial aspects of it. You know, if we do have, heaven forbid, transfer embargoes, FFP sanctions, we can't spend any sort of money. And I know we've already got players like Esteval Willian, Kendry Paez, Mike Penders. We've got all these fantastic youth players able to join us in 6, 12, 18 months. But we've got such talent in the youth team. I mean, I was looking last night and thinking, where's Keanu Dyer? Where's Raksaki? These are two players that could have been playing. And you could throw all of these guys into the cup final. I think I'd be very disappointed if there weren't at least 2, 3 youngsters in the starting lineup and at least 2, 3 more on the bench. I feel like while, of course, I want to see a strong team, I do not want to see us give no quarter. I want to see us go out there and make a point. It might be a Mickey Mouse Cup to other teams. We've got to go out there and win it 5-6-0 and prove them right. I couldn't care less. If we get that trophy, they can call it what they want. It's another European trophy. It's another major trophy. Enzo Moresco's first. It will do wonders for the squad, wonders for the youth. And also, I do feel like the more chances, the more opportunities we give these youngsters, it's a message to the higher-ups. It is Enzo Moresco turning around and saying, look, guys, I appreciate you using all these, using all these funds, spending all these millions. I've got players here that I used. And the perfect example, I think, is Matisse Amugu. Matisse Amugu, not a player that we've seen very much of. 2, maybe 3 substitute appearances in the Conference League. But we just haven't seen him used. And it was a bit of a strange one when we bought him in because, I mean, I could understand that we wanted a little bit of central defensive midfield cover with Romeo Lavia continually injured. But it is... to me, that very clearly seems like a transfer that Enzo Moresco had no say in. It was a player that Bowley, Clearlake and Co, Winston Lee Stewart, them lot had identified, said, we're getting this guy in, whether he's going out to Strasbourg next year or whether he'll go out on loan elsewhere, I do not know. But I feel like Enzo Moresco using players like Reggie Walsh is a huge, huge statement to the owners to say that we have the talent here. I have long said Cobham is the best academy in the world. You hear Hale End, you hear La Masia. There are some fantastic academies out there. There are some brilliant teams, brilliant youth setups. I could not be convinced that Chelsea do not have the best academy. I think you look at the talent throughout the ranks and then you look at the talent that is playing in the top leagues, as I said earlier, there isn't another team that does it like us. There isn't another academy that does it like Cobham. And Reggie Walsh is just the latest in a long, long line of success stories. And yeah, I don't know how many times I can say this guy is destined for a huge career. But let me know what you thought. Let me know who impressed you the most last night, aside from Reggie Walsh. Obviously, Josh Acheampong, I think, like I said earlier, played his way into this starting cup team. Definitely want to see him stay with the team next season and get more minutes, even if it is at the cost of Alfie Gilchrist. I'm sorry, mate. Josh Acheampong's here and he's taking your space. It's how the world works. I think Enzo Moresco will likely give him a chance. I think Gilchrist is, again, another fantastic, we're going to use that word, utilitarian player, can do multiple roles. But I just think Josh Acheampong is so cool, calm, composed on the ball. I think he's so level-headed. He plays years above his age. He plays like he's got 20 years more experience than he does. And yeah, I think the professionalism throughout the team is fantastic, but to see these youth players playing with such professionalism on such big occasions, because take away, everything that you want, take away the opposition and the fans or whatever. We just started a 16-year-old in a European semi-final and he bossed it. And the 19-year-old centre-back bossed it as well. Like, there has got to be a point where Enzo Moresco turns to players like Badia Shiel and says, what are you doing for me? If I've got players like Gilchrist, Josh Acheampong, Harrison Murray Campbell, Ishe Samuel Smith, Genesis Antwi, all these players, Brody Hughes, Richard Elise, all these youngsters playing in defence that want to push on, that want minutes, that are having fantastic seasons for the youth team. I, as Enzo Moresca, think that's the easiest way to make your statement, to send your message to the owners. Continue plugging the youth. The talent is there. The ability is undoubtedly there. Keep giving them opportunities because, last night was just absolutely fantastic for all involved, from everyone, all Chelsea fans, everyone from an outside perspective. No complaints from last night. We could have gone out and lost like Legia. It was a fantastic atmosphere. Shout out every single fan that travelled. If you are continually travelling, also, we've got to fill the stadium in Wrocław. Someone let me know how I'm going to get my hands on a ticket to Wrocław. I need to be there, man. I need to be in Poland. But let me know who your man of the match was from last night. Who's been your standout academy player from this season's Conference League campaign so far? Make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And of course, we are now available on Spotify. So guys, make sure to go and download, watch and listen to the episode on Spotify. At Two Blues Podcast on the Instagram, TikTok, and of course the YouTube. Until next time, up the Chels.